3, 2, 1. What's going on, everyone? You're watching Ash on Comics. My name is Ash, and we're going to be doing a review today of Green Lantern, Future State Green Lantern, issues 1 and 2. Let's see how quickly I can get through. This is not going to be an in-depth Ash on video. It's just going to basically be, did I like the book? Yes or no, and why? Now, this book is a fatty issue. I think it's around 48 pages. It's got 3 total stories in it. I'm not a big fan of this format. I want to buy a comic, and I want every page to be about what's on the cover. This is Green Lantern, and yes, I know every backup story is a Green Lantern story, but I want this the main. Yeah. So, getting right into it, I waited this long to read the books because I didn't like this art. This art reminds me of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Not exactly like Eastman and Laird's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but the kind of art that came later when they started outsourcing to different people. And for a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle books, this would actually be pretty good. I kind of like my Turtles books to look not big to top professional. I don't want to see Clayman do Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, right? I kind of like that raw amateur style. Anyways, that's why I think Freddie Williams Jr., is that his name? Freddie Williams? I don't know. The guy who did the Batman Teenage Mutant Turtle, he's a great artist, both for Turtles and... Anyway, I'm already in the weeds. I haven't gone anywhere. Now, this writer here, Jeffrey Thorne, was interviewed by Perch a little while back, and I could not sit through that interview. It was so dull to me. Now, I don't know who to blame, whether it was Perch or whether it was Jeffrey. Now, I normally love watching Perch's videos. I've been on his videos for several times. I have a ton of fun. I like his content quite a bit. I don't watch a lot of interviews because I don't normally really care about comic creators. Unless it's a creator that I just love. If it's a Frank Miller, maybe if it's a Sean Gordon Murphy, I'm going to sit and listen because I'm already a big fan of these guys. And I'm predisposed. I don't know who Jeffrey Thorne is. I just know he's doing some new comics for DC. And I'm like, okay. I couldn't sit through it. So then I revisited several days later, and I was bored, and I was like, let's watch this video, let's get through it all the way through. I tried a second time, and I couldn't. And so I developed a weird negative taste in my mouth, thinking that was going to translate into the quality of the book, and just be like, oh, God. And I'm already predisposed to thinking that DC is making a lot of these diversity hires, and they're getting rid of all their top-tier talent, and they're bringing in other people, and so I'm sort of making these prejudgments. And the reason I'm telling you all of this is to be fully transparent and as a disclaimer, so you know where I'm coming from. You may not agree with my opinions, you may not like what I have to say, but I hope the one thing you can always walk away from one of my videos is be thinking to yourself, you know what, at least Ash always shoots me straight. He may be wrong, but he's being honest and sincere. I'm not trying to shill out anybody. That's the last thing I ever want to do. I never want to praise a book and someone just be like, oh, you're just praising it because you're sucking up to this or that. There's a lot of people that do videos, comic book videos. I'm not going to point fingers at anyone. And they will praise books and so forth because they want Marvel to give them free books or DC to give them free books or because they're kissing ass on a creator that they like or whatever. And that's not me. If it's a creator that I like and their books, I'll just keep silent, you know. I'll just be like, I don't want to shit on you, but I'm not going to praise you just because. So anyways, that transparency is out there just so you know where my headspace is when I approach this book. A lot of bias. Eric Breen's like, no shit, Sherlock. That's what I do. But I read this book, and maybe it's sometimes when you set the expectations really low, things can surprise you. This book really surprised me. Now, I don't love it. I'm not going to run out and be like, well, you can't really collect it because it's a couple issues. But I still don't like the art. I don't like, this is Jon Stewart, by the way. What the hell happened to Jon Stewart? I guess when you do your hair up like this or whatever, it makes you look more Mad Maxian. This doesn't seem like Jon Stewart would do this, but whatever. I liked that this book, I wish this was not a Green Lantern book. I wish this was Thundar. Look, he's got a Thundar sword. That's what I thought of when I was reading this the first time. It's a cool sci-fi story. I'm not a big Green Lantern guy. I'm a Green Lantern noob. So there's a lot of characters that I see and I go, maybe these are characters that have been around for a while. I don't know them. I definitely don't know these characters. I don't know a lot of the lore. I'm still learning. But I was like, if these were just a bunch of space pirates, if this was like the Starjammers or something of that nature, it didn't have to be a big DC. It could have just been whatever. I would have enjoyed this. Geoffrey Thorne brought a lot of fun to this book. Nothing was out of this world. Nothing was a home run. But I kept myself turning the pages. It had a really good pace. And that's something that I don't see a lot in modern comics. It was going really fast. I didn't know who these characters were, and that's usually difficult to establish a fast, a rushed pace. Because when you don't care about the characters and you rush the pacing, it feels, you just really get lost, and you really just be like, you just tune out because nothing matters what you're reading, and it's just you're bombarded with action that's pointless. But that didn't happen here. There was a good balance. These characters were fighting for their lives. They got these blue people that are the Shar. They're sort of the victims in all this. You got this other race of these purple people. They follow the Red God, and they're waging war. And it's reminded me kind of a bit of the Exo Man-O-War series, the second series of the great Valiant run that Matt Kindt did between the 2012-2018 great era of Valiant. Kind of reminded me of that a bit. If you've read that series, I think you'll get the reference. If not, doesn't matter. But do go check that out. It's a great series. I don't really want to spoil this book about what happens. And to tell you the truth, not a lot actually happens. It's just excitement and action. Oftentimes that can be a bad recipe because action for no purpose becomes pointless and you just tune out. But I just enjoyed the dialogue and how things were happening. I felt like the writer understood how to keep my attention, and I just wanted to know more. It's kind of like, there's a technique, and I can't remember what it's called, but in writing, where when you start off a story and you jump right into the action, not with the main plot, but sort of like a mini little storyline that's going to set the tone for the rest of the story. And they do this a lot in, like Indiana Jones does this, and like James Bond does this. Where, like, say, I'll do Raiders of the Lost Ark. Opens up, and Indy's exploring the cave and all this stuff. And he has this whole mini adventure, and then he gets out finally and all, and then he gets the thing that he got stolen, but then gets backstabbed, and the Indians are going to kill him, so he's got to run, get to the plane, make his big getaway, and it's all action-packed, and you don't really know anything about these characters, but the way they're presented, it intrigues you. You're intrigued by this Indiana Jones guy. You're intrigued by the French rival. I think it's Balot was his name. And it's just, that's what this book does. That's the best way I can talk about it. Was I didn't really know much about these characters. I know some people say, well, you got Jon Stewart. It's like, yeah, but this is not the Jon Stewart you know. So you might as well be, and I was just having fun. And I got to the point where it got to the end and you're at a nice, hook part where everything looks lost. Nort is getting killed, it appears on the page, and it's like, oh no, and then it's next gone right, and you're like, that's what comics are supposed to do. You're supposed to be like, give me the next one. I really did like Nort, by the way. I liked that he's a dog. He's not a dog, literally, but I liked that he's presented as not human. One of my biggest pet peeves of sci-fi stories and fantasy stories are presenting non-human races who have the psychology exactly of a human. And then also, all humans expect every other race to behave and think just like we do. To all of our outlooks of the world and the universe and everything, we project on every other race. At least in fiction, there are no other races in the real world. But, we expect, for example, like Star Trek, the humans expect Klingons to behave the way humans do. But Klingons are a warrior race who believe in like battle and honor, death, an honor, kind of more like a Vikings credo, like a good day to die, go out like a warrior. Humanity that's very barbaric and uncivilized. So when the Klingons do it, it's not treated as like, oh, that's just how your culture is. It's treated as that's bad. As inherently anything that's not human is wrong. And I don't like that. I like when aliens or other races in fantasy behave with a completely different psyche. And I like that Nort here, it's very simplistic. It's comic booky. He looks like a dog, so he behaves like a dog. But my point is, he can't leave the alpha. And that's how a pack is. The pack stays with the pack. And I just thought that was really cool because that's a non-human thing to do. The second story was annoying. The art was better. This is really boggling me about how this whole future state is just get rid of the crap. Just focus on the good. Get your good artists with your good writers, do your good stories, and anyways. So here we get Jessica Cruz running around. It's in the future. The rings don't work anymore because the Green Lantern power battery has been destroyed. We're not really told how this happens. We don't know. But all the stories work out this way. Jessica Cruz is stuck on the space station. Now the Yellow Lanterns are here. And she's got to deal with them with no powers. But she's woman, and you will hear her roar. So she beats them through her ingenuity and her badassery, because she takes a yellow ring off the first guy she beats. This kind of alien design really bothers me. It's like, we're going to design an alien who's got mouths where the eye holes are and an eye where the mouth is. And yet the mouth won't have lips. It'll still have eye sockets, and the eye socket will have lips. It doesn't make sense. And the skull, if you want to design a creature like this, that's fine, but why don't design? Anyways, that's just lazy, uncreative design to me, and it just comes off silly, not real. So Jessica, she beats everyone because she's awesome. Even this right-hand lieutenant who, boasts, she goes through this big monologue. Those were not my best, but still, you managed to defeat them without a ring. Impressive. But I am Lissa Drac, most trusted and feared of Sinestro's lieutenants. I have witnessed primordial terrors beyond death itself. The words of Parallax are burned into my very skin. Is that relic supposed to scare me? No, the girl holding it is. Uh-oh. Crash. You'll regret that, girl. She beats the shit out of her. And then she's like, how did you do the yellow ring thing? And then the yellow ring chooses her at the end. Great. Jessica Cruz now gets to be yellow there. Awesome. So great. Then we get the Guy Gardner story that is completely pointless. Why is Guy Gardner even being brought? You're in the middle of replacing all of our favorite heroes with nonsense, and then you're bringing back heroes that have been discarded in the past, and it's like you're just overflowing. There's just too many characters in the DC universe. This story is so contrived. Not contrived, it's so derivative. Oh, look, you've seen this a million times in every... There's two alien races on the planet, and they hate each other because they have religious ideological differences. They're fighting over this artifact, and each side thinks the other side is heretics, and they all must die. You see this all the time. Guy Gardner, he's at this point the rings still work. He shows up and uses his powers, and they believe like he's a god. So it's right out of like Return of the Jedi. And oh man, where was it? There's a line. Gosh, I should have highlighted it. There's two parts in here where the writer literally like rips off dialogue, or not dialogue, but like lines from Star Wars. And I was like, oh, why are you doing that? I can't remember where they are though, so I'm not gonna. Dang it! I should have wrote it down. But you don't get professionalism here. You just get Ash ranting and raving. So just as you'd expect it, he's trapped on this planet because the ring eventually does die because of reasons. And years go by, and eventually he makes the world a better place, and they all learn to like get along. And he's like, "Oh, great! This calls for a party, and yay!" And then one guy shows up. He's like, "The prophet, Guy Gardner, is wrong," and challenges him, and all this stuff. And the people are like getting upset. And then Lobo shows up, and why? They make a play on words, prophet. It was like someone watched Return of the Jedi and C-3PO, the Ewoks thought he was a god, and then it was like, I could do a story about that. It just was pointless. This book is $5.99. That first story was fun, not $5.99 fun. And the other stories, trash. One was, the Jessica Cruz was trash. The Guy Gardner was just pointless. It was just filler. It just was whatever. It's a waste of space. You're never going to want to read it again. And there's my phone. Right in the middle of my video. So the issue 2, I was excited. I was like, yeah, we get back to this story. Poor Nord, he's dead. And then they have another character. It's like, oh, look, partial life signs are spotty. They're looking for Zalak. Life signs are spotty. Find John Stewart. So they just leave him to die. Anyways, you don't care. They got the big bad guys wearing some lantern armor. I don't know what that is. This story started breaking down. And everything that I liked positive about the first issue was less so in this one. The art even got worse. From an illustration standpoint, it looks roughly the same. Look at this panel. This is just... The anatomy is just weird on that running. Here, someone needs to read How to Draw Comics the Marvel Way. I know it's not a Marvel comic, but it's fundamentals of comics. You draw at the apex of the action. This is not how you do it. These shots here on this whole page, you can kind of see how panel 1 goes to panel 2. And then panel 3, I guess you can kind of see the guy kicks him. But I don't see how this happens. He somehow slices him. I can't visualize how the action is happening in this panel. And this character's head is way too big for his body. It makes him look like a little person. Especially right here. Look at that. I mean, he looks... So it's just fighting. Jon Stewart's got this axe, and he fights. And I'm not really going to spoil the story, but every woman is always awesome. So this woman, and they're not only awesome, but they got to like explain how they're awesome. I just don't understand this. You never see Jon Stewart running around being like, "Look at how awesome I am." But we get this line here. It's like, she's going to face him. 5 hells we are. You can't hold them all alone. All 3 of us. Hood. Understood. So her friends want to stay there and fight with her. She's like, no. Because, of course, you can't be badass when you have help. You have to do it by yourself. So she sends her friends away so she can do so. Oi! Yeah, you, I mean you. You batch of slavering catch bulls. My name is Belu Kins. I'm not from around here. You won't have heard of my world. Bit of hellscape, really. Everything there kills you. The air, the animals, even the dirt. My people not only live there, we thrive. We adapt. We're not the bloody fighters Khundia makes, but we've got one thing over you. Two things, really. We're the best weaponeers in the spiral arm. No one can touch us. My planet's called Imsk, and when an Imskian wants something to die, it sprocking dies. Bam. And you're just like, I didn't need a whole page of bragging of how awesome look, I am so awesome. I am going to kick so much ass. You just watch. And then ass kick. That's just, it's more impressive when someone's humble and then kicks ass. And it's always the female characters that have to talk up themselves or each other. And it's just, sorry. And she blows up stuff, yay. And then we get to see the future state version of Orion. I don't know what the hell. And Orion shows up. And he's like, look, you guys are all misled. I'm the Red God, and you guys are doing the wrong things. To which you should follow John Stewart. He's the real guy that follows my way. And the leader was like, no, that's not right. This is some sort of trick, some sort of hologram. Which it could have very well been. Like, honestly, why would you believe that? And then, John Stewart's like, yeah, I don't think anyone believes you. So they continue to fight anyway. They don't care what their god says. And John Stewart gets saved by the Imskians again, which they can do micro. He has a little thing on his belt. They're like, they can shrink themselves. And yeah, then he gets his glove, I guess, from Orion, which now can make the Sword of Orion, and that's end of part 2. Not terrible, but man, again, $5.99, and it was a step down from the first issue, which I really was enjoying. Then I saw this page. What in Sam hell? This is Teen Lantern. Now, a couple of things. Number one. How far in the future is Future State? I got the impression that Future State was at least 20, 30 years in the future. Okay, at least 10 years in the future. I mean, look at Gotham. It's like Cyberpunk 2077, right? It's not like, hey, in 2 years, Gotham City's not changing. Like, this has got to be at least 10, 20 years in the future. Why is Teen Lantern still a little girl? I mean, she's only 9. But let's say minimum 10 years. She'd be 19. She's still a little girl. I hate this Teen Lantern with a freaking passion. But I have to say, this story is dumb. Josie Campbell writes it. The art's meh. She goes on a little adventure with Mogo, the planet, the Green Lantern. That's a whole planet. And we get this lame dialogue. She's like, oh, monsters? No, it's dead space. Nothing lives within. Are you scared? Because he's talking to a little girl. Psh! I was a member of Young Justice. My first time out, I fought my way through the multiverse. I've got this. Of course. Not afraid of anything, of course. Now, you're like, Ash, you were about to say something. Yes. There's these aliens show up. Because the shit goes wrong. Remember, the power battery of the Green Lanterns dies, the main one. So this all happens, and then they cross over. There's a point in time where this happens. This story reaches that point in time. No Green Lantern power. So Mogo's dead in space. It was traveling. Now it can't talk or anything. So she's trapped on this planet alone, and there's monsters. And you're like, oh, okay, interesting. She's got to run from these big, scary monsters. And we got this cocky girl, and she's like, I'm not afraid of anything or whatever. And now she's really afraid. We get to see, like, oh, she's running, and these things are coming after her. She's got her hands over her mouth, and the monsters are going through. And she got this monologue. I'm scared of the dark. And then this part happens here. I wanted to be a hero because then everything bad would make sense. The slums, the murderer of the gauntlet's wearer, being left by those I love. It would have been all for a reason. I had to be a hero because if I'm not, then I'm just a scared kid. Of course I never got a Green Lantern ring. It wouldn't choose me either. And you're like, what? So that's the first key. And the aliens are hunting her still. And where was it? There was a part. Was it before then? Yeah, sorry. We see the aliens. Rawr. We get this sign here. She's running. Why did I think I could do this? I'm no hero. I found my gauntlet in the literal trash. I thought I could bluff my way through, like I always have. But rah. Zap. So the stupidity of Bendis has been fixed somewhat. Of a little girl hacking the Green Lanterns, changed. That didn't happen. This girl found this gauntlet. The creator of it, or whoever had it before, was killed. She took it and ran, and then she lied about it and said, oh yeah, I did it, I hacked it, and blah, 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 blah. Which totally makes things better. Makes me want to at least give her a chance now, because the idea of hacking Green Lantern is so stupid, especially by a 9-year-old girl. And the fact that she doesn't know anything, now there's so much room for her to grow, because we find out she's just lying about everything. She doesn't know anything. Bravo. Like, the story was meh. She reconnects with Mogo because Mogo taps into her gauntlet, which still has power. Unlike none of the rings have power, but her gauntlet does for some reason. So, she's still trapped with Mogo. It says 52 days and counting, and then the end. So we don't know what's happened to her. She's trapped in space, but I appreciated that story just for existing to retcon, because she was stupid. And then we get the Robert Venditti story, which I was like, oh, Robert Venditti, Dexter Soy. Oh, this is going to be the primo, right? And it's not bad. I mean, Venditti is Robert Venditti. We get Hal Jordan, the real Green Lantern. He gets to kick some ass, like Hal Jordan does. We get some good writing. We get War World stuff. He's got to pass it up, though, because he's got to find what's going on with the Green Lanterns. He's in a rush. It's a really fast-paced story. It's meant to be a side story. You can tell that Venditti understands what he's getting himself into. And Hal Jordan shows up. Battery's been destroyed. Everything's gone. He's like, oh, no. Everyone gone. And I don't want to blame Venditti for this, because I'm sure this was a DC big mandate from the upper. This bothers me. You're him, Hal Jordan. Where were you when the Corps needed you? And we get the new, all better, improved Green Lantern woman of color, because that's what's really important in a galaxy full of millions of different aliens. We need to make sure that black women are represented in the Green Lantern, because we don't have enough women or women of color in the Green Lantern Corps of Earth. I tried reading this Far Sector book. It is garbage. This woman didn't even want to be a Green Lantern. She's off on the far ass end of space, and she has nerve to lecture Hal Jordan, the man whose will itself, who saved the universe how many times now? Where were you? I just want someone smack her, please. I don't know if Venditti struggled writing this page. I don't know. Maybe he doesn't see it the way that I do. Maybe you don't see it the way I do. But this frustrates me. This is fucking Hal Jordan. And this other chick is a pretender. She has one other little mini series that sucks. and they're handing her the mantle. I know this because they've solicited it. And this is just a slap in the face of readers to me. Like, Hal Jordan represents us. That's it. Here's some flashbacks written by a real sciencey person to educate your kids with real sciencey science. And she was on the Big Bang Theory. Oh, look. Never trust people who write themselves in books. Thanks for watching. This was a long review, but it was 6 stories. So each minute per story was pretty low. Bye.